She was freezing alone at -10 degrees Celsius with no hope. Then a billionaire and his silent daughter appeared. The street lamps cast golden circles on the fresh snow, as Emma sat motionless on the park bench, her breath forming small clouds in the freezing air. The thermometer outside the pharmacy across the street read -10 degrees Celsius, but she barely noticed anymore. Her thin green coat, once elegant, now seemed like a cruel joke against the biting December wind. 3 months ago she had a home. 3 months ago she had a job. 3 months ago she had hope. Now she had nothing but the burgundy purse clutched in her frozen fingers and the bench beneath her. The eviction notice had come first, then the layoff, then her mother's medical bills that consumed her last savings. She'd tried everything. Every shelter was full, every friend had their own struggles, every door had closed. Tonight, she'd simply run out of places to go. "I'm sorry, Mom," she whispered to the falling snow, thinking of her mother in the hospice care facility across town. "I tried." Through the curtain of snowflakes, she noticed movement. A man in an expensive charcoal coat was walking toward her, hand in hand with a small girl bundled in a rainbow-colored jacket and purple knit hat. The child, no more than 6 years old, had stopped walking and was staring directly at Emma with wide, serious eyes. The man, tall, dark-haired, with the kind of presence that commanded attention, followed his daughter's gaze. Emma looked away, embarrassed. She'd grown used to being invisible. Being seen was somehow worse. "Sophia?" the man said gently, but the little girl had already pulled her hand free and was walking toward Emma. Emma's heart raced. She didn't want pity. She didn't want explanations or excuses or... The child stopped in front of her and simply pointed at the empty space beside Emma on the bench. Without waiting for permission, she climbed up and sat down, her small legs swinging above the snow. "Sophia, sweetheart," the man said, approaching with a mixture of concern and apology in his voice. "I'm sorry, miss. She doesn't usually..." He paused, looking at Emma more closely, seeing perhaps what his daughter had seen, not a stranger to avoid, but a human being in distress. Emma tried to speak, to tell them she was fine, to send them on their way, but her throat felt frozen shut. The little girl reached into her pocket and pulled out a small candy cane, striped red and white. She held it out to Emma with both hands, like an offering. When Emma didn't take it, Sophia placed it carefully on the bench between them. "My daughter," the man said softly, crouching down so he was at Emma's eye level. "She hasn't spoken since her mother passed away 18 months ago, but she has a way of seeing people, really seeing them." He paused. "My name is Alexander Frost. Please let me help you." Emma shook her head weakly. "I don't need charity." "It's not charity," Alexander said, and something in his voice made her believe him. "It's humanity. And right now, humanity means not letting you freeze to death on this bench." The little girl, Sophia, had taken Emma's frozen hand in her small, warm one, and was simply holding it. That simple gesture broke something in Emma. A tear slid down her cheek, freezing almost immediately. "I lost everything," she whispered. "My apartment, my job. My mother is dying, and I can't even afford to visit her. I don't know what to do anymore." Alexander stood up and made a decision. "Come with us. Just for tonight. We have a guest house. It's warm, it's safe, and tomorrow we'll figure out next steps. No strings attached." Emma wanted to refuse. Pride demanded it. But Sophia squeezed her hand, and when Emma looked into those solemn little eyes, she saw something that looked like understanding, the kind that comes only from knowing loss intimately. "Okay," Emma breathed. "Just for tonight." The Frost Mansion was everything Emma imagined and nothing she expected. Yes, it was. Grand, all marble staircases and crystal chandeliers, but it felt oddly empty despite its size. Alexander led her to a cottage behind the main house, cozy and warm with a fireplace already lit. "The staff keeps it ready," he explained. "Please, make yourself comfortable. I'll have dinner sent over." Over the next few days, Emma learned that Alexander Frost was indeed a billionaire, tech industry, investments, philanthropy, but that none of it had saved his wife from cancer. He'd thrown himself into work afterward, and Sophia had retreated into silence. The doctors say she's not ready to talk yet, Alexander confided one afternoon as they watched Sophia build a snowman in the garden. That she's processing her grief in her own way. Emma, who'd been staying in the guest house while Alexander's assistant helped her navigate social services and job applications, noticed something. She communicates differently. Yesterday she showed me her mother's picture and then gave me a flower from the vase. She was telling me something. Alexander looked at her with new appreciation. What was she telling you? That beautiful things can exist even after loss. That her mother would want her to share beauty with others. Emma smiled softly. She's quite wise, your daughter. That evening, Alexander made Emma an offer. I need someone who understands Sophia. Someone patient, kind, who sees her as she is, not as a problem to be fixed. I'd like to offer you a position as her companion. It comes with a salary, benefits, and accommodations here on the estate. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Why are you doing this? Because 3 nights ago, my daughter stopped walking for the first time in months to help a stranger. She reminded me that our pain doesn't have to make us smaller, it can make us more human. He paused. And because everyone deserves a second chance. Emma thought of her mother, of finally being able to afford proper care, of having a purpose again. But more than that, she thought of Sophia's small hand in hers, and the unexpected connection they'd formed. I accept, she said. Over the following months, Emma became more than just an employee. She became part of their small, healing family. She learned that Sophia spoke through gestures, through the books she chose to share, through the way she'd take Emma's hand when she sensed sadness. And slowly, Emma helped Alexander see his daughter not as broken but as whole in her own way, a child who felt everything so deeply that words seemed insufficient. One spring morning, exactly 6 months after that frozen night, Emma was reading to Sophia in the garden when the little girl suddenly spoke. You were like the snow angel, Sophia said softly, her first words in 2 years, all alone and beautiful and cold. And Daddy and I got to warm you up. Emma pulled the child into her arms, tears streaming down her face, while Alexander stood in the doorway with his hand over his heart. That evening, as they sat together for dinner, Emma, Alexander, and Sophia, Emma realized that the night she thought she'd lost everything had actually been the night she found everything that mattered. Alexander caught her eye across the table and raised his glass. To unexpected angels, he said, the ones who sit on park benches and the ones who refuse to walk past them. Emma smiled, watching Sophia giggle as she clinked her juice glass against theirs. She thought of her mother, now in a better facility and improving steadily, who had told her last week that miracles happened when you least expected them. She'd been freezing and alone with no hope. But hope had come anyway, in the form of a billionaire and his silent daughter who taught her that sometimes being broken is just the beginning of becoming whole again. And in the end, it was impossible to say who had really saved whom that snowy December night, because in the profound cold, they had all found warmth in each other. The end.